Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. This is a compilation video of some of my greatest hits. Hope y'all enjoy them. Hudson Bay, New York. Hudson Bay, New York first gained notoriety as a UFO hotspot. In 1982, New Year's Eve, thousands of people gathered awaiting midnight. They all witnessed a huge V-shaped craft in the night sky. It was about the size of a commercial jet and flew over Kent Cliffs, New York. This began a 3-year-long flap of UFO sightings. 9,000 reports of UFO sightings were turned in between 1982 and 1986. All of the reports were of the same V-shaped craft, so evidently it liked that area. This craft returned night after night, even showing itself to UFO investigators such as Philip Imbrogno. Imbrogno. I hope I'm saying his name right. Imbrogno? Maybe? Anyway, he deserves to have his name said right. Everybody does. This guy worked for the Center for UFO Studies. So, yeah, and he saw the thing. The craft hovered over highways, fields, and hills, even emitting a brilliant beam of white light. This whole area is ripe with all kinds of different stories. I did a video on Whitley Strieber. I think I'm pretty sure I did. His UFO encounter and his alien encounter was in this region. Has this UFO investigator Philip Imbrogno, Imbrogno. I want to say his name right. I promise you I do. I'm doing him a disservice by not saying it properly. Anyway, as he investigated further, he stumbled upon other paranormal phenomena associated with the region. Bizarre sounds emanated from beneath the ground. Locals have been reporting these sounds for over a century. The UFO flap fueled speculation that the sounds may be underground military bases or underground alien bases, some kind of an underground base where this big V-shaped UFO was staying. It was kept there and then brought out at night or whatever. But then he kept digging, because good journalists always dig. They never forget their shovel, let me tell you. And this guy is right on the ball. Here we go. Bigfoot sightings have been prevalent in the Hudson Bay region for centuries. As a matter of fact, all through the Hudson Valley. An extraordinary number of hauntings have been reported since long before the American Revolution. The Native Americans reported it way back. Alien abductions are reported here well above the national average. Lizard men and other cryptids aside from Bigfoot-like creatures tend to congregate in the Hudson Bay area. These include flying creatures and even gray alien sightings running through the woods. I did a video on roadside phantoms, and in this area, apparently they are reported with alarming regularity all across the entirety of Orange County. Everything apparently congregates here. It's like Chestnut Ridge and those others. I've done videos on Chestnut Ridge and the Bridgewater Triangle, as well as others. Go check out these areas, check out those videos. Evidently, Hudson Bay, New York ranks right up there with these paranormal hotspots. And I when I first started doing Unexplained Places, I hesitated doing so because there's usually an explanation. There's a military base here, so people see a lot of lights at night. Or, there's a heavily wooded area, so people see things in the woods and they misconstrue it. Bears and things, and they misconstrue it as Bigfoot. Things like that. But some of these reports you just can't ignore. Go check out the Chestnut Ridge one. That one's just ridiculous. Bridgewater Triangle is also good. That's they called it something else. There's something else in the video, but I can't remember what it's called. But those areas are, oh my God, ridiculous with weird stuff. And apparently the Hudson Bay area in New York is the same way. You really have to delve into it I guess, and do your own research. I hope you do. And if you find something I've forgotten, please put it in the comments. Or if I got something wrong, please put it in the comments. I'm sure we'd all be glad to read it. Even if you disagree with me, put it in the comments, because I love those. Debate is the first step towards finding the right answer. If we can't debate each other, what good is it? Loretto staircase. Got to give you a little bit of backstory here. In the 1800s, 7 nuns set up a school for girls in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Basically, they wanted to build a chapel. They're nuns. They wanted to build a church, chapel, school, that kind of thing. Good people. Good, solid people. They wanted to build this chapel. And the Our Lady of Light Chapel neared completion in 1878. But the architect died before he could build the staircase to the choir loft, which, by the way, is crucial. It's a necessity. There's no other way to get up. And because of the way it was designed, a normal staircase wouldn't get it up there. I think at the time they were using a ladder and they needed stairs. They couldn't find anybody who could do it. They couldn't find any local architects or carpenters who could do it. So the sisters began to pray. They prayed to Saint Joseph, the patron saint of carpenters. And they prayed and prayed. And on the 9th day of prayer, a visitor arrived. He had a donkey and his tools. He said he was there to build the staircase. And they were like, oh, thank God. So they brought him in, let him go to work. Now, he worked in private. Nobody saw how he worked. And he worked in private until it was done. And then he just mysteriously disappeared, grabbed his tools and his donkey, and, he beat feet. If you have not seen this staircase, it is gorgeous, it is beautiful, and it is functional. The sisters were so pleased. And they went down to they couldn't find him, the guy, the worker, the carpenter, they couldn't find him to pay him. And so they went down to the local lumber company to see if they could pay for the materials that this guy got. But they said the materials didn't come from them. So this guy didn't get materials locally. He worked in private. And then he just disappeared. And if you've not seen this staircase, you got to look it up. There's pictures of it online. The Loretto staircase. Go look it up. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. You got to see it. Absolutely gorgeous. There's no central column or support beams. Normally with a staircase, you've got a central column, and the stairs are attached to that column, and they go up. There's no central column. There's no support beams. There's no nails, no screws, no glue, nothing. There's 33 steps, and the staircase wraps around twice. Whoever did this was a genius, okay? A sample of the wood determined that it was of an unknown type of spruce and was definitely not native to the area. The nearest place that it could possibly be from, was from Alaska, but it's still an unknown type of spruce. There have been debates over this because architects have come in, physicists have come in, they've had scientists come in. They can't figure out how the staircase works. They can't figure out how it stays up. They can't figure out how it supports its own weight, much less people walking up it. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. I can't stress this enough. You've got to go find pictures of it and look. It is gorgeous. No screws, no nails, no glue, none of that. And it fits perfectly, okay? There's no central column. There's nothing supporting it. It still stays up. It's been theorized was the builder Saint Joseph himself, because saints are supposed to answer prayers. Well, they prayed to Saint Joseph. He's the patron saint of carpenters. If anybody in existence could do this, it would be him. With the good Lord's help. The sisters were adamant, and no clear proof exists to debunk their story. As I understand it, there were checks made out from the sisters for material, but we can't say if that was for the staircase or for the chapel in general. There's a lot of gray area there. There's no clear proof to debunk anything these ladies have said. And God bless them. That's a beautiful chapel. They did marvelous work. This was 1878, so I'm going to say they're probably not alive right now. But ladies, you done good. Whoever this guy was, again, go check it out for yourself. It's gorgeous. On Lourdes, Lourdes, Lourdes. Lourdes is a market town located in the Pyrenees of southern France. Since ancient times, Lourdes has been a municipal area, and it has been a market area since Roman times. The history of the area is marked with war and bloodshed. Franks, Huguenots, Muslims, Turks, British, and many others of a variety of religions met their end here at Lourdes. You can go research the history of the place. It's quite dramatic. But that's not why we're talking about this. We're talking about this for some more recent developments. On February 11th, 1858, a 14-year-old local girl named Bernadette Soubirous, Soubirous, Soubirous. I want to say her name right. I'm probably butchering it, and I apologize. Everybody deserves to have their name said right. Bernadette Soubirous. Anyway, this 14-year-old girl claimed to have a vision of a beautiful lady who identified herself as the Immaculate Conception. Many believe her to be the Blessed Virgin Mary. The lady appeared 18 times within a year, and a statue in her honor was erected in 1864. The statue is Our Lady of Lourdes. Many people have traveled to Lourdes on religious pilgrimages. Many have experienced healing miracles from the water and from just being there. I'll give you a couple examples. In 1989, a girl named Delizia, Delizia Ciroli. This girl, Delizia Ciroli. She visited the shrine in 1889. At the age of 10, she had been diagnosed with cancerous tumors in her bones. 2 months after she visited Lourdes, she was completely healed, completely healthy, with no trace of the cancer. Okay. Now that 2 months is a long time. Something could have happened between then and there. But check this one out. Jean Fretel, Jeanne Fretel, Fretel, Jean Fretel, was diagnosed with a mysterious illness that doctors could not identify. In 1937, they diagnosed her with this illness that they couldn't identify. They had no way of treating her. 11 years later, Fretel visited Lourdes and was immediately, almost instantly healed. She subsequently became a nun, and the church proclaimed her healing as a miracle. That you can't argue with. She had a mysterious illness. They couldn't identify it. It was a real illness. It wasn't, hypochondria or psychosomatic or whatever. It was a real illness. The doctors, it's documented. Okay. Nobody really knows the origins of the healing power of Lourdes, but many attribute it to Bernadette's visions, the Virgin Mary. Regardless of anyone's opinions of the validity or of the origins of the healing power, nobody can ignore the results. Within a year of Bernadette's visions, 32 different people reported being healed by the power of the church. 7 of those healings cannot be explained by modern science. That right there tells you something different is going on. It's outside the realm of normal. And nobody can argue with it. 32 different people reported being healed by the power of the area, and that's within a year of the visions. 7 of those particular healings cannot be explained by modern science. That is just astounding. Anybody who thinks that it's, it's just, that it's faked, talk to these people. They were healed. In our modern world, many people tend to frown on Christianity and many scoff at true believers as kooks or nuts, yet nothing else explains the curative properties of Lourdes. Montpelier Hill, Ireland. I wanted to do this video for quite some time, and I was trying to do my research, but every story that I found contradicted other stories' information. So when you're getting contradictory information from multiple sources, you got to kind of go through and pick and choose the commonalities, which, by the way, leaves a lot of stuff out. So I had to find other good sources, and that's what I was looking for, and I found some good ones. If some of this information is wrong, or if it's not, if I leave some stuff out, please, bear with me here, because a lot of different sources, a lot of contradictory information, so bear with me here. All right. I'm doing an Unexplained Places video on Montpelier Hill, Ireland. Montpelier Hill was originally Mount Pelier, but was changed, over time the name changed. And the hill was home to pagan and witchcraft activities for the hundreds of years prior to William Connolly building a hunting lodge atop it around 1725. From the beginning, the lodge bore a unique and macabre reputation. As the construction of the lodge began, workers found an ancient grave passage and a cairn. They were eager to avoid carrying stones up the hill to build the thing, so the workers took a large number of the cairn's stones and used them in the construction. Many people believe this was the beginning of the curse because shortly after its completion, the lodge's slate roof was blown clean off. I mean, a storm came along, right off. Connolly, Speaker of the Irish House of Commons, had the roof rebuilt with arched stones, again cannibalizing the ancient cairn. Connolly died in 1729, and his family lent the lodge. His family lent the lodge for use to the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club has roots in the 18th century. It was founded by self-described, quote, persons of quality. They thought they was better than everybody else. Evidently, they thought that mortal laws and even the laws of God did not apply to them. Many members were involved in politics or high culture. It was at the lodge where these so-called sophisticates engaged in some of the most immoral and degenerative acts known to man. The club's motto was, "Do what thou wilt." The motto was later adopted by the infamous English occultist Aleister Crowley. And if you don't know who that is, I might do a video on that dude because he's freaky weird. If reports are true, the club members lived up to that motto of "do what thou wilt." Do whatever you want, essentially. They were drunks. They held orgies. They held black masses. They were into devil worship, sacrifices. There were murders committed at the lodge. These people did anything they could to spite anything good or decent. That's my understanding. One tale, you're going to love this one. This one is, no matter what source I read, this story is in all of them, so I have to include this. There was a stranger who stopped in on a stormy night and joined the members in a poker game. One of the members dropped a card and leaned down to pick it up. Under the table, he noticed that the stranger did not have normal feet, but instead had cloven hooves. Afterwards, the stranger disappeared in a burst of flames. Yeah, that would set most people straight. Okay, yeah, I would be going to church every day, but not these people, because they better than everybody else, The Hellfire Club met in the lodge and at nearby houses until 1800. Another tale is that the Hellfire Club kidnapped, murdered, and ate a local farm girl. Paranormal tales have permeated the area for centuries. An immense black cat with burning eyes roams the area, evidently. The origin of the cat stems from two possible sources. First, a priest exorcised the cat's soul during a ritualistic sacrifice. And the other possibility is that the Hellfire members doused a cat in whiskey, and then they set fire to it and released it into the wild, where it ran ablaze until it presumably died. Yeah. These people were sadists. They were sickos. To say they were elite would not be... Well, I guess they were, because they were all wealthy. They thought they were better than everybody else. They had that attitude. You know what I mean? Anyway, pagan rituals are still performed in the area. Evil witches sacrifice to Satan in their secret ceremonies to this day in that area. The spirits of 2 nuns are said to have participated in black masses, and they are said to wander the hill. The nuns participated in these black masses, and their spirits are said to wander this hill. Workers dug up the remains of a small human, said to be a dwarf that had been sacrificed during the club's active years. Orbs, apparitions, and strange sounds are reported almost nightly. UFOs are reported regularly over the hill. Travelers through the area have reported... You're going to love this. These strangers walking through the area, they have reported having conversations with strange and otherworldly beings wearing black robes. These beings offer wealth or favors for oaths signed in blood. That's freaky. That would scare the piss out of me. One traveler reported watching a tree stand up and walk into the forest. A tree standing there, by the side of the road. Gets up, steps out of the ground, and walks into the forest. Yeah, that shit's right out of Lord of the Rings. Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff there. Regardless of whether or not you believe the supernatural stories of Montpelier Hill, the scenery, especially at sunrise and sunset, is spectacular. If you are considering go look up pictures of it online. You'll see what I mean. If you are considering a vacation spot and you enjoy the macabre and supernatural, then maybe Montpelier Hill is the destination for you, because you get scared out of your wits, and then you get this beautiful sunrise, and then a beautiful sunset, and then you get scared again. So, yeah, you got it all there, Mount Hood, Oregon. Before I get into the video, however, I'd like to tell you about a new book that I've just got published, The House Off Farrago Road. It's available on Amazon. The author's name is H.L. Anderson. It's just a fun story about a house where the denizens are not quite normal. Mythological creatures and supernatural forces commingle with modern-day law enforcement and the criminal underworld. If the quirky weird perks your interest, check out The House Off Farrago Road. It's available on Amazon. All right, now, into the video here. Mount Hood. Located east of Portland, Oregon, Mount Hood sits in the middle of the Mount Hood National Forest. As far back as written word goes, and even further than that, Mount Hood has been a paranormal hotspot. The local Native Americans tell stories of the spirits that inhabit the area. They knew the mountain was indeed a place of mystery. When Europeans first came to the mountain, the stories and reports of strange happenings began to accumulate. Strange creatures were seen regularly in the forest. These ranged from large hairy men to strange reptiles to large birds. Just pretty much every cryptid that you can think of has been spotted in the area. Odd lights in the sky were an almost nightly occurrence. Even the Native Americans reported seeing them. It's in their stories. Haunting screams would echo through the trees, and these sounds were made by no human throat. Ghostly apparitions ranging from all kinds of animals to human beings were seen regularly. In modern times, Mount Hood has become one of the most prolific UFO hotspots in the world. Both sightings and abductions have been reported regularly. Not only that, many other odd reports make Mount Hood one of the strangest places in the world. Hikers have reported seeing long-dead people from their past. People have reported meeting people who appear different to different people. So you'll have a group of hikers walking along. One person will see Uncle Fred. It's one person that they see coming towards them, but to one person it'll be Uncle Fred, to the next person it'll be Aunt, Aunt May, and the third person would be, Cousin Jim or whatever. But it's all different to each person. It's crazy. And if that happened once or twice, you'd be like, but it's pretty regular. Several reports indicate doorways made of light. One such doorway had a dark, shadowy being within it. That would freak me the hell right out. I mean, it's one thing to see a light that you can't explain, but when you see a lighted doorway in the middle of the air open up, or, out, like you're right there on the trail, it just opens up out of nowhere, and there's something inside, yeah, that would freak me right out. An unusual number of missing persons has been reported in the area. We have alien abductions on a regular basis here, but beyond, alien abductees usually come back. That's how we know they're alien abductees. These people just go and don't come back. Are the aliens keeping them? I don't know. That's crazy. Here, are they with the doorways? You're thinking maybe they got sucked into a different dimension or something. You just don't know. People have seen doorways open and close in cliff faces on the mountain, which also begs the question, is there some sort of an underground city or underground civilization there? And the entrance is at Mount Hood. That would, that right there begs the question. Researchers have found odd magnetic readings, odd gravimetric readings all over the mountain. The prevailing theory is that there are magnetic ores in the mountain that create these oddities, but who knows? People have reported phantom conversations more than once. One hiker, they were camping overnight, and they had hiked up to this area. They were camping, and they're going to hike back the next day. While they were camping, this lady heard a conversation behind her. She turned and looked, and there was nobody there. So she turns back to the fire, and she's tending to the food, and somebody asked her a question, and she turned and looked, and there was nobody there. She was alone. So, that right there, that's just creepy. Mount Kailash. 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 I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but there we go. Before we get into it, though, if you enjoy my content, it would really help me out if you would hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share my content on social media, and post a comment or two. Remember, I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. If you enjoy a good book, check out my author page on Amazon. My pen name is H.L. Anderson. You can find all of my books there. I like to think I write good stories that make you think. I wrote a 3-book science fiction Western series called Drifters. I wrote a fun story about a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. It's called The House Off Farrago Road. I wrote I've got 2 so far. I'm working on the 3rd. It's a science fiction, futuristic space warfare type thing. It's called the first one is Vanguard 1. The second one is Task Force Terminus. And I wrote a political fantasy called The Righteous President. Hope you get them. Hope you like them. All right, on with this one. There are places in the world that simply defy explanation. I've done videos on many such places. Go check them out. This particular one is on Mount Kailash. Kailash. Mount Kailash sits in the southwest corner of Tibet. The mountain is called Kailash Parvat, the navel of the earth, Axis Mundi, and the stairway to heaven. It has many names for many different reasons. It is said that Lord Shiva resides at Mount Kailash, and according to the locals, they fear it and stay away from it for that reason. There are 4 religions that claim a hold on Mount Kailash. There are 4 rivers that flow out of that mountain, north, south, east, and west. It looks the mountain kind of looks like a pyramid with 4 sides, and it appears to be symmetrically man-made. Each face has a different color. The number 4 is associated with this mountain, apparently. The Nazis of World War II scoured the area for clues to the legendary city of Shambhala, but they never climbed that mountain. Local legends say that Shambhala is under Mount Kailash, but nobody has ever climbed it or tried to find a way under it, as far as I know. There was one person who made it to the top. He was a religious man. I cannot remember who it was. Maybe I'll get to it later on. I think I wrote it down. I'm not sure. But apparently there's a monument up there, some sort of an ancient city. I couldn't tell you. Anyway, there are a number of oddities about this mountain that science thus far cannot explain. First off, no plant life grows on Mount Kailash. It is completely barren, which is it's not a huge mountain, so that's not normal. There should be something up there, trees or something. Weeds if nothing else. Mount Kailash lies, you're going to love this, its location is weird, 6,666 kilometers from the North Pole, 6,666 kilometers from the South Pole, and 6,666 kilometers from Stonehenge. That's why it's called the navel of the earth and the center of the world. The mountain is also 13,332 kilometers from base to peak. That's 6,666 kilometers times 2. Yeah, it's just weird. The southern slopes get more snow than the northern slopes, but the southern slopes also get more sunlight than the northern slopes. So that in and of itself is weird because it should get less. You see what I'm saying? There are magnetic anomalies all over the mountain which prevent compasses from working. Locals as well as climbers have reported time slips and other anomalies. One such hiker spent the day on the mountain and returned home 30 minutes before he left. It's crazy. A group of climbers disappeared without a trace. And again, if you've seen the mountain, it's not a big place. There's no trees or anything, so it should be easy to find them, but they just disappeared without a trace. Another group of climbers from Siberia, they were all young and fit men, set out to climb Mount Kailash. They returned after a few hours with hair and fingernails grown as if weeks had passed. Within a year, every one of those climbers had died of old age. They were young and fit when they went onto the mountain. They were there for a few hours. They came back. Nobody went back up on the mountain. But within a year, they'd all died of old age. That is documented. So I don't know what to tell you about that. That's just freaking weird. Climbers have reported so many anomalies on Mount Kailash that it's difficult to include them all. Climbers have been ascending steadily and found themselves descending the same way they came up, as if the mountain somehow shifted itself. They're going up and then finding themselves going back down without having turned. Climbers were forced down by sudden and unexplained blizzards and rainstorms. They go up with a good weather report, next thing you know, boom, the bad weather hits. Climbers had to abort their attempt when all members of their team experienced a sudden wave of illness. They all got sick the exact same way. I would imagine a electromagnetic anomaly could have accounted for that, but you never know. A group of climbers felt an irresistible urge not to ascend the mountain, and when they started their descent, the feeling went away. All of them simultaneously. To me, that's something like mental or emotional manipulation. It's crazy. Aircraft, even modern sophisticated machines, cannot fly over Mount Kailash. They can fly around it, they can get high enough to go over it, they just can't go over it. Something prevents them from gaining the necessary altitude to fly over the peak. When they try to, magnetic anomalies force them away. There are 2 lakes right there at Mount Kailash. These 2 lakes used to be one lake before tectonic activity split them into 2 different lakes. I'm going to try to get this right. Lake Mansarovar, 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 is the highest altitude freshwater lake in the world. The water is always calm regardless of the weather and is teeming with life. This lake never freezes, ever, no matter how bad the winters get. And it's the highest altitude freshwater lake in the world, and it never freezes. Strange lights are seen over this lake quite frequently, and nobody can explain them. It's crazy. The other lake is called Rakshas Tal, and is an extremely salty lake and has no life in it at all. The water is very turbulent all the time, regardless of the weather. This lake periodically vanishes, leaving parched ground. It then reappears at full volume as if it never vanished. The locals call this lake the Demon Lake or the Ghost Lake. The other one, I think they call it like the Holy Lake or something. So these two lakes are almost opposites. They're virtually opposite. In 1999, Dr. Ernst Moldeshev took a team of scientists to Mount Kailash and studied it extensively. They heard strange sounds emanating from within the mountain, which sometimes sounded like great stones being dropped from considerable heights. The sound suggested that someone or something was living inside. Moldeshev became convinced that Kailash was an ancient pyramid built by extraordinary humans with advanced technology. The schematic map of the city of the gods, which sits at the summit of the mount, here we go, is very similar to the spatial structure of DNA molecules. It's the resemblance is remarkable. There is a temple in Ellora, India, called the Temple of Kailash. It is a 3-story temple to Shiva and is the largest monolithic temple in the world. It is carved out of granite. It took 18 years to construct, according to archaeologists. The workers had to remove 400,000 tons of rock in 18 years. Which, 18 years sounds like a long time, but listen to this. That's 60 tons of rock per day, or 2.5 tons of rock every hour. And that's working round the clock. This is not counting the intricate and beautiful carvings in the walls or the extensive underground labyrinth that exists beneath the temple. Many people speculate that the builders of the mountain may have had a hand in building the temple. Who knows? The temple aside, Mount Kailash is certainly one of the most unexplained wonders of our world. It is, by definition, an unexplained place. And the fact that people die of old age when they go there, that it has, in fact, it has been documented, it has happened, that right there tells you there's something weird about that place. So on Mount Shasta, California. Before I get into this, though, I want to tell everybody that I hope you had a really great Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope the New Year blesses everybody. I wish you nothing but the best. I also want to tell you about a new book that I got published. The House Off Farrago Road. My new book is available on Amazon. The author is H.L. Anderson. That's me. It's just a fun story about a house where the denizens are not quite normal. Mythological creatures and supernatural forces commingle with modern-day law enforcement and the criminal underworld. If the quirky weird piques your interest, check out The House Off Farrago Road. Now, on with the video. Long before the Europe in Mount Shasta, California. Long before the Europeans arrived in the New World, Mount Shasta has been a center of paranormal convergence. Native tribes have occupied the area for over 10,000 years. Mount Shasta looks as out of place as anywhere else on Earth. It looms above the surrounding area like some monolith from heaven. Mount Shasta is over 14,000 feet above sea level. It pierces the clouds and creates its own weather. It is a semi-active volcano and oozes lava from time to time. Multiple native cultures around the area have their own legends about Mount Shasta. They call it the sacred center of the universe, the birthplace of all life. Above the tree line is the domain of the sky people, so that everybody's warned not to go above the tree line. Petroglyph Point is nearby and has some of the oldest writing ever found in North America. Some of these carvings, thousands of years old, depict sky people. And they look a lot like aliens, I'm just saying. Sky people were apparently, according to the native culture, sky people were spirits from other domains. Were they aliens? Were they from extra-dimensional creatures? We don't know. But, it's in native culture, so there you go. Native American legends talk about a race of giants that live on Mount Shasta. There's a Modoc word called Matakagmi, and it means Bigfoot. Ironically enough, in Tibet, the word Metokangmi, very similar word, means Yeti. They're extremely similar. Is it possible there's a link between the Modoc people and the Tibetans? Who knows? We do know that a lot of the North American natives came over the land bridge. Their ancestors came over the land bridge from Asia. So maybe some big people traveled from Tibet and settled there, became the Modoc people. Who knows? Since the 1920s, Bigfoot sightings on and around Mount Shasta, I'll get it right in a minute, have been so common that many park rangers simply accept them in stride. In 1930, a giant humanoid skeleton, 8 feet tall, was discovered near Mount Shasta. It was a mainstream archaeological find. Some believe the giants of Native American folklore are not Bigfoot, but rather Lemurians. In 1904, geologist J.C. Brown was searching for gold at Mount Shasta. He discovered a hidden tunnel 11 miles long. And this is kind of bears out with logic because it's a volcano, so there might be lava tubes and like that. So anyway, he found this hidden tunnel 11 miles long. At the end, he found what he described as the remains of an ancient city with tunneling machinery, statues, tablets, shields, and weapons made of gold, all inscribed with hieroglyphics. He also found a tomb with 27 giant skeletons, is what he said. Brown theorized that these were refugees from Lemuria on the continent of Mu, M-U, Mu. Brown later disappeared on Mount Shasta. He's never been seen since. Mount Shasta has been a UFO hotspot for over a century. Many UFO sightings report that UFOs vanish in the reports. They're saying that UFOs vanish into the side of the mountain, not through open doors, but right through rock face. It's like right in there. Weird. Other strange reports abound regarding Mount Shasta, including strange beings have been seen walking through rock walls. Maybe they're the aliens, who knows? Many disappearances have been reported in the area. One young boy who vanished reportedly was found in the woods by another version of his grandmother, who took him to a cave where lots of people were frozen in place. That's the kid's words, frozen in place. This version of his grandmother gave him a medical exam and asked him to defecate on a piece of paper. He couldn't go, and he was later found, he couldn't actually defecate. But so later he was found by a bush that had been searched several times because people were looking for this kid. Later on, the grandmother said that she had heard weird noises. She had had strange experiences on Shasta. So, a man named Carl Landers disappeared in front of 2 friends in a field. He was never seen again. He's walking along, they're right there, and boom, he just disappears. He didn't go into the ground, he didn't get taken up to a spaceship, he just gone. I did a video a while back on another guy who disappeared in a field in front of a group of people. He was walking across the field towards them, just disappeared. Other strange reports include time dilation, portals, and ghosts. Such reports have been commonplace for over a century. All in all, Mount Shasta is one of the most mysterious places on Earth, and I kind of hesitated doing this because usually if I'm doing a mysterious place, I find articles and I find research that other people have done, and I kind of conglomerate. Usually I can find 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 articles, and if they have all the same information, you go with it. Mount Shasta has so much information. It took me almost 3 months to compile it all. And this is all the common stuff. So, I don't know what to make of that. There's so much weird stuff, the weird becomes normal. That's crazy. The North Shore Mountains in British Columbia in Canada. I was actually researching a different story about there was a place where an airplane crashed. Grouse Mountain, Grouse, Grouse, Grouse Mountain. And I was looking at that, but then I started finding other stuff about this area, so I just did the whole area. North Shore Mountains in British Columbia in Canada. Long before the Europeans colonized North America, the area around Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada, specifically the North Shore Mountains, has been a hotspot for all manner of paranormal activity. And when I mean all manner, I do mean all manner. The first Americans, the Native Americans, whatever you want to call them, in this area, they tell of spirits in the mountains, which can be either helpful or violent, depending on how well they are treated. And this goes back generations. It's not just in the last couple of 100 years. We're talking, generations before that. Legends of cryptids in the area go back just as far. Bigfoot, giant birds, giant lizards, etc. These have been reported in those mountains for thousands of years. Their reports continue to this day. Early European explorers reported all manner of odd occurrences in these mountains. Everything from the cryptids I talked about before, to apparitions, to ghostly voices, to lights in the sky, to disappearing equipment, to weird weather patterns. I mean, it's just everything is there. All in all, the area around Vancouver, British Columbia is just a really, really weird place. Now, I'm gonna touch on these other stories that I had originally intended to report on. In the 20th and 21st centuries, UFOs and UAPs have been added to that list. In this area, UFOs are reported on average, once a week. Some stretches of time that can go as high as one report every 55 hours. So it's a minimum of once a week, but sometimes they get so many of them that they average out to be one every 55 hours. UFO abductions have been reported at more than twice the national average here. And if that's not weird enough, in 1954, the weirdness escalated. On February 12th, an F-86 Saberjet flew into the side of Grouse Mountain in broad daylight. The official report said that it was pilot error due to radar ghosts. The jet was fully armed with 24 rockets, and it's possible that not all of them were recovered. Many think the jet was chasing and shooting at a UFO. That's why the UFO messed with its radar and its compass, and it had expended some of its rockets. That's why not all of them were recovered. That's the general consensus. Now, again, on June 21st of that year, that's just over 4 months later, a UFO was radioed by a tower. The UFO responded and gave the correct IFF codes, identify friend or foe codes. It then followed that particular transmission with several more correct and appropriate coded responses. 2 F-86 jets were sent to investigate and reported that this particular UFO broke into 2 pieces and easily outmaneuvered the jets for 82 minutes before disappearing from a visual sight and radar. So they see a UFO on the radar. They try to communicate with it because they don't know what it is. They figure call it and see what it is. This thing responded with the proper IFF codes, but they knew it wasn't anything that belonged to them. So, and it kept sending back more transmissions with the proper codes and, coded responses and things like that. So they sent 2 F-86 jets up to look at it. This thing broke into 2 and evaded the jets for 82 minutes before they just disappeared. It's crazy. The pieces just disappeared from radar and from visual sighting. All this happened right there, right around Vancouver. This area is most definitely a hot spot for everything weird and unexplained. I would recommend that you do your own research. And if you want to visit the area, I've seen so many pictures of it in the last week. It is absolutely gorgeous. Just showing up to look around is going to be beautiful. Pittston, Pennsylvania. There are a number of places in the world that I think bear scrutiny as Unexplained, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on there that people literally cannot explain. I've done a number of different places on my channel. Check them out. There's a number of places in Pennsylvania that literally bristle with paranormal activity. In my opinion, Pittston is the epicenter of such happenings. Pittston is a beautiful little town nestled on the banks of the Susquehanna River between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. It has been dubbed the quality tomato capital of the world. Nobody would ever suspect that such a quiet and unassuming little town would be such a hotbed for paranormal happenings. Listing all of the paranormal events and other odd things that regularly occur here would literally take hours. I'm going to list just a few. There's a road called Suskin Road, S-U-S-C-O-N, Suskin Road. Suskin Road, Suskin Road. It has over 55 fatalities ranging from suicides to murders to automobile accidents. I mean, it's a hotbed for death. It's crazy. The ghost of a murdered girl is said to haunt a section of the Suskin Road that the old black, it's called right next to the old Black Bridge. Her screams for help echo through the area and have been documented and recorded. So they're not making it up. Those screams actually do happen. A local man named Jim Reap tells tales of a creature he encountered when he was a child. Reap's monster had a long snout, long gray hair, and a bushy tail. Its eyes shine like diamonds. Oftentimes, travelers on the Suskin Road report sightings of Bigfoot. Many other cryptids, on foot and in the air, are seen on a regular basis there. The area over the river has been a UFO hotspot for decades. Then there's the Smurl haunting. In West Pittston, there's a house that allegedly housed a demon for a number of years between 1974 and 1989. The demon caused loud noises and bad odors, threw their dog into a wall, shook their mattress, pushed one of their daughters down a flight of stairs, physically and sexually assaulted family members on several occasions. In 1986, the Smurl family called in famed demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. I've talked about them in other videos. The Warrens documented the occurrences. Ed Warren said that the demon was very, very powerful. It shook mirrors and furniture when it was angered. They witnessed a dark mass forming in the home. They watched it happen. All in all, Pittston, Pennsylvania is a wonderful, wonderful town where evidently ghosts, cryptids, demons, and all manner of strange occurrences happen. There have been people who have been driving down that road who don't know about it, the Suskin Road, who have no idea, and they'll have a Bigfoot sighting, a UFO sighting, and hear the screams all at the same time. Or, on the same trip down that road. It's crazy. Were I living there, I would find a way to station police along that road just to be on the safe side, because apparently there's a lot of automobile accidents there. As I said, 55 fatalities on that road alone. Yeah, the ghost of the murdered girl was said to have been hung from that bridge. So, yeah, having cops constantly on that road would probably be a good thing. I'm just saying. Have them get a video camera, catch some of them UFOs too. It's crazy. Santuario de Chimayo. There's a place in New Mexico where the dirt is said to have miraculous healing properties. Santuario de Chimayo is located, I hope I'm saying that right, is located very near the city of Espanola, New Mexico. The famous religious sanctuary was built around 1819. It is a Spanish colonial-style mission church and is absolutely legendary. Located on New Mexico State Highway 76, 38 miles north of Santa Fe. This place is absolutely beautiful. You have to visit it. I wish I had a picture of it. I'd put it up here. At the mission, there is a miraculous hole of sacred soil that never empties, no matter how much of the dirt is removed. Many crippled pilgrims have made the astounding claims that they were completely cured by the dirt at the santuario, when medical science could do nothing for them. The walls of the sanctuary are adorned with the crutches of those healed by the dirt. This is their testament to the healing power of this sanctuary. It doesn't get much better than that, people. You walk in on crutches, you get healed, you leave the crutches when you leave. It's that simple. The dirt heals the ailing, the weak, and anyone in need of physical and spiritual help. This place is legendary. There is an image of El Santo Niño de Atocha, Atocha. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. There is an image of El Santo Niño de Atocha here, which is venerated by the devout. This is the Holy Child of Atocha. Now, according to legend, Spanish knights were being held in a Moorish prison in Antocha. Excuse me. Sorry. Antocha, Spain. These Spanish knights were being held in a Moorish prison in Antocha, Spain around the 12th century. The knights were dying from hunger and thirst. One day, a young boy carrying a basket of bread and a gourd filled with water appeared. Since he was just a child, the Moors let him into the prison. The child's bread and water saved the knights' lives. The bread did not run out, and the gourd never ran dry. People believed the boy was actually the Christ child, and that makes a lot of sense. Jesus fed the multitudes with the loaves, and, there you go. At the sanctuary, excuse me, at the sanctuary, a wood image of the Holy Child was produced by an early santero. The image is venerated, and miracles are attributed to the figure. It is said that the image would animate at night and travel around the countryside performing miracles and other acts of mercy for those in need. He would return by morning. The shoes on the wooden image become worn out and must be replaced every year. Think about that. If this thing was, if it was not making these trips at night, how do the shoes become worn out? That's definitely something to consider. I don't know anybody personally who has had who has experienced this child helping them, but a friend of mine told me one time that his aunt was visited by a child who helped her with her illness. And I don't recall what the illness was. I want to say it was cancer, but don't quote me on that. The point being that there's many people who are absolute believers in this, and who am I to argue, right? I mean, it's a matter of faith. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I'm not Catholic, but I'm a Southern Baptist, but I believe in God. It's the same God. So, at any rate, if you get a chance, visit the sanctuary. You never know. Sedona, Arizona. Now, I've done videos on unexplained and strange places. One of the weirdest I did was on Skinwalker Ranch. Go and check that one out. Check out all my unexplained places videos, but, especially the one on Skinwalker Ranch. I want to say it's in Utah. At any rate, there may be a place linked to Skinwalker Ranch in Arizona. The town of Sedona, Arizona has long been a hotspot for UFO and alien activity of all sorts, as well as alleged clandestine military activity. Lots of conspiracy theories about what the military may or may not be doing in the area. There have also been reports of hauntings, cryptids, strange lights and orbs, portals to parallel universes. Many other anomalies have been encountered across the entire area, like energy vortices, areas with dangerous radiation levels, temperature anomalies, and, all kinds of stuff. And these encounters have occurred for over 100 years. If that's not strange enough, there's a section of land that's like 12 miles outside of Sedona. It's known as the Bradshaw Ranch. The ranch is no longer owned by Mr. Bradshaw, but the name stuck. Beginning in 1992, there's a lot of people who call it the former Bradshaw Ranch. But anyway, beginning in 1992, the ranch was inundated by paranormal and supernatural events. The list of strange phenomena reported is long and well known. Here we go. People have reported giant animals like rabbits, snakes, and coyotes, enormous magnetic fields, high-frequency sonics, UFOs, shadow beings roaming the place, portals, glowing orbs, alien encounters. People see aliens running around watching them. You know, aliens are watching them kind of thing. Energy vortices. Some of those may be temporal vortices. Bigfoot and other cryptids. Winged creatures too. Unexplained bright lights. Unexplained storms. Men in black. Humans in NBC gear. If you don't know what an NBC gear is, it's nuclear, biological, and chemical. It's the big protective suits that they wear in the military when they're investigating something or when they're doing chemical work and stuff. People have seen humans running around wearing gas masks. Roving hauntings all over the place. Dinosaurs. People have actually seen dinosaurs out there with tracks and everything. Radiation anomalies. EMF anomalies. Temperature anomalies. Disembodied voices. All over the place. Missing time. People have reported missing time on multiple occasions. I did a video on that. Go check it out. Phantom battles. People have seen cavalry and Indians fighting, but then they just disappear. Unexplained military presence. The military is all over that place, and nobody can figure out why. I mean, now, I'm going to get to this later, but now the military owns it. The government owns it. So you're going to see military all over the place. As a matter of fact, the military is what's guarding it. So, 2 researchers who had spent time at Skinwalker Ranch were surprised to discover a radio signal at 1.6 gigahertz UHF, a radio signal and all kinds of different transmissions. These signals are exactly like the ones they found at Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. That frequency is widely used in GPS, Globestar, satellite navigation, satellite television, and other systems. So they're not sure what that signal is doing there. It's crazy. Now, after a series of land transfers, the United States government eventually did take ownership of this ranch, and they locked it down tight. There's fences, there's signs warning people to keep out. Trespassers are met with armed military guards and prosecuted accordingly. They are prosecuted. It's not like they just warn them off. If you're on that land illegally, they'll arrest you and prosecute you. Something on that land interested the government to the point to where they took possession of it. They bought it. They paid money for it under eminent domain. And they fenced it off, and I don't know if they're doing research out there or what. I don't know. But all the weird stuff that happens out there, it makes you wonder if the government's still investigating this stuff. I know they were investigating UFOs, and they currently still are. But, NASA's investigating them and all kinds of stuff. UFOs, that is. But this other stuff, I don't know if there's stuff here that has nothing to do with UFOs. All over the place. Unexplained storms coming out of the clear sky. Hauntings, shadow people. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Giant animals, dinosaurs. Are they breeding dinosaurs out there? Are they doing genetic research? I mean, honestly, what? Nobody knows. But the fact that the military bought it, took possession of it, and cordoned it off, and they fenced it off, and they're actively keeping people out of there, tells you the government knows something about what's going on there. That's all I'm saying. That being said, it would be nice if they'd share a little bit of knowledge there, because there's people that live in that area that are witnessing a lot of this stuff. I'm sure they'd like to know. La Zona del Silencio. It's another unexplained place. This is an area in northern Mexico that literally defies scientific explanation. The Mapimi Zone, the Zone of Silence, sits on the borders of the Mexican states of Chihuahua, Durango, and Coahuila. Coahuila. I hope I'm saying that right. Coahuila. Since before Europeans set foot on the New World, the area has been a hotspot for paranormal and unexplained phenomena. The main issue with this area is that radio and communication signals simply will not penetrate the area, and this includes satellite signals. Since forever, the Zone of Silence has been a sort of magnet for everything from legendary cryptids, mystic lights, mysterious and unexplained storms, UFO sightings, alien encounters, disappearances, magnetic and gravimetric anomalies. You name it, everything's here. Some of the events that have occurred in the zone include a married couple in 1975. They encountered a strange storm and got their car stuck. Two figures helped push their car out and then promptly disappeared. These two guys showed up, they helped push their car out so they could get it unstuck, and then when they got out of the car to thank them, they were gone. They were nowhere to be seen. In September of 1976, the entire town of Ceballos, Ceballos, observed a large UFO hovering over their town. It was in 1976. I would assume some of them got pictures, but I couldn't find any. It was just crazy. In 1976, the very first photograph of a UFO that landed near a magnetic hill was snapped by a person who was visiting the Zone of Silence. The photo shows a shiny silver object hovering in the air as the object rose to the sky. The person could not take more pictures of the object. Ruben Lopez was driving through the Zone of Silence to visit a relative who stayed in Ceballos. As he was driving, he noticed that his engine began to stall. Suddenly, he saw 5 small figures standing along the roadside some distance away. He noticed that the figures wore silver suits and helmets. As they approached the van, he switched his engine to neutral. When he turned the engine to neutral, the strange figures disappeared into the desert. After this, the engine started functioning and Lopez could drive his vehicle. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. Now here's the kicker. On July 11th, 1970, the United States Air Force launched an Athena rocket on a scientific mission into the upper atmosphere. The rocket, launched from Green River, Utah, was expected to land near White Sands, New Mexico. The rocket went astray and came down in the middle of the Zone of Silence, 644 kilometers south of its planned destination. The rocket was carrying 2 small canisters of cobalt-57, an isotope used in salted bombs, to intentionally contaminate large areas of land. This prompted a cleanup effort in which hundreds of tons of soil were removed from the impact site. Since the rocket crash, strange and mutated flora and fauna have been reported, along with cryptids, extraterrestrial visitations, mutant animals. I mean, you name it, it's all there. There have long been stories that the rocket incident was staged to allow the U.S. military to recover a crashed UFO. We don't know if that's true or not. For every person you say, yeah, I know this happened, you find somebody else who says it's a hoax. We just don't know. But given the fact that UFO sightings in the zone are over 200% that of other areas in Mexico and the United States, even extending back to the pre-Columbian colonization times, this is more than possible. I'm not saying it happened, I'm saying it's possible. Now, all that being said, there was a movie a while back, very low budget, where somebody went into the Zone of Silence to try to do some research on it and they disappeared. There have been reports of alien abductions in there. There have been reports of film crews that get lost for days and find their way out accidentally. There was a report of police officers who witnessed strange events. Cryptids along with aliens, along with UFOs, all at the same time.